Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Best Darn Everything, a weekly or bi-weekly now, alternating weekly program in which two dudes who were raised on The Simpsons talk about stuff other than The Simpsons, except for the weeks in which we only talk about The Simpsons. Regardless, my name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off. The man I just embarrassed over there is your co-host with the most. It is the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
Yeah, sometimes we do Simpsons episodes 2 days or 2 weeks in a row whenever there's a writer involved. So you'll have to excuse us when we blatantly don't know what we're doing the next week because sometimes you just gotta make room for people.
Fly by the seat of our pants.
Or when pigs fly, one or the other.
I honestly forgot we announced that we were going to do a different show and then we just changed it without reference, but it's clearly fine.
Well, I mean, obviously it does good things because we've had at most one viewer or listener every week, and now we have two. So clearly,
double the live viewership already. Thank you both. That's fantastic. So we're actually kind of going back to our roots tonight in a roundabout way because we are talking about just movie experiences. I guess that sounds kind of weird, but we're just going to talk about some of our favorite movie theater experiences that we've had, just some stories we have to share about times that we've gone to the movies. Because I would say it's, at least in the old days, pre-COVID or whatever, going to movies was a pillar of our friendship. To the point that when we started podcasting, we actually started doing a movie review show long before we ever did The Simpsons.
I honestly don't even remember what the name of that show was, but yeah, we had some good episodes in there with some great clip art, I might add.
Richie what were you using? Microsoft Paint?
Yeah, I think so.
But it's fantastic because you were the better artist of the two of us, so that goes to show you something. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I used to have them up on the channel. I think I finally took them off because they are cringeworthy. They're still there. They're just not at the top of the. They're not advertised. So we'll say that. But I also can't remember what they're called. Movies in a Half Shell. Back to my Ninja Turtle obsession.
I completely forgot about that. I think we got Matthew in here saying he started going to the theaters in the 90s, I think. I really need Get Vocal to do a night mode. I know we said that last week, but night mode would make this so much easier to read. I have to get all up in the camera just to read the chat to the left of our screen here. So
you look like a boomer trying to text or something or send a selfie. You are 38. So actually, Matthew, we're all in the same range here. We're both 35. Is that right? We're both 35. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I couldn't remember for a second, but yeah, we're both 35. So that you kind of got onto a topic that I did want to bring up. So we'll circle back around to Movies in a Half Shell, but I did want to ask Richie, what was the very first movie you actually remember seeing in a theater?
Bambi.
Oh, wow.
And I think I thought when I was a kid that it was the original viewing of Bambi, even though, that's impossible because I'm much too young for that, for one thing at least. But yeah, I remember seeing Bambi in theaters with my mom and dad. Kind of. If I don't remember it fully, I definitely remember them telling me about it. So it's kind of a gray area in there.
It's one of those weird memories where you don't know if it's actually a memory or you've just been told about it so much that it's created a memory.
Yeah, Bambi and then Land Before Time, because I feel they're kind of the same thing with traumatic, your mother's dead scenes in them. So yeah, I remember seeing those in theaters.
I mean, I think with Bambi it was just the one traumatic scene, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Land Before Time also had that happen. I meant both of them.
I got you. Yeah, I was going to say if Matthew and Chandra want to answer it's just those two for now. But if anybody wants to say anything or tell us about the questions we ask each other, feel free to chime in. I don't know if Flow That Bird is your answer or not. Is that the name of a movie?
Oh, let me do my old guy routine.
Yeah, hold on. Peek in there. Note to self, write or email to Get Vocal asking for night mode.
It says Flow That Bird, which I've never heard that saying before, but that is definitely my new Streets Ahead saying.
Yeah. That is Streets Ahead. You're not going to believe me. I know you won't, but it's absolutely true. The first movie that I vividly remember seeing in the theater
Evil
is
Bong.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 2, Secret of the Ooze. Like, I remember, like, just weird things like the fountain outside in the mall. It was in Arizona at the time is where I lived, Phoenix. And, like, I vividly remember the fountain outside the mall where it had the movie poster on, like, a column. And like I was just so like as hyped as one can. You know how excited I get. I was like on extreme excitement mode, and like that movie absolutely delivered. I was also a huge Vanilla Ice fan, like separate from the Ninja Turtles. So when Vanilla Ice showed up in the Ninja Turtles 2 movie, my mind was just blown. It was a phenomenal, life-changing night.
Weird side story. In my high school years, we did the musical Sound of Music, and I was talked into auditioning, even though I have no musical talent whatsoever, except for, when I'm Simpsonized. But I remember the person that went right before me for their audition of Sound of Music did Ninja Rap, which
go Ninja, go.
I was literally like, no matter how bad I am, I'm going to be fine now, because this dude just went up there and sang Vanilla Ice for like 3 minutes with only 2 words being repeated over and over when he forgot the lyrics. So good times.
That's easy to do.
Thank you, Vanilla.
Thanks, Uncle Vanny. So like I was saying kind of at the beginning of our top of the show, we kind of like, I don't know that like we originally met in the dorms playing volleyball. I don't really remember when going to the movies like fundamentally became a part of our friendship, honestly, but I just feel like it always kind of has been. Like I remember going to the movies, and we would used to, when we were in college, like we'd bring like rum into the movie and like order slushies and then like top off our slushies with rum and stuff like that.
Or, Miles would rupture Richie's eardrum, and Richie was on over-the-counter pain meds, so when he got the good stuff, he accidentally took too much and was like falling asleep during a Harry Potter premiere where Miles ruined it for somebody else in the middle of the night.
Man, that was a lot. You just threw out a lot of detail and like or a lot.
I think you brought a hookah that night too to the outside of the movie theater.
Man, weird. Okay, so this is clearly going to just be a sporadic episode. But which story do you want to tell right now? Because that was a fun one. The that was that Order of the Phoenix? Is that right?
Whichever one. Spoiler alert! In case you're not a Harry Potter person.
Oh, we're spoiling every movie we talk about tonight. So yeah. But
Miles did not say this to our friend. It's whichever one. I almost said.
We were at the midnight premiere of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and like you don't go to that premiere if you haven't read the books. But yeah, I did absolutely spoil that Sirius Black dies at the end, and like the guy next to us was just like, "What?" And I'm like,
"One of our friends."
I think it was Austin.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, he looks at me and he's like, "I didn't know that," and I thought he was joking. Like I thought he was just deadpan, like messing with me, because it's like, who the hell goes to the midnight premiere of Harry Potter if you haven't read Harry Potter, you nerd?
Which, conveniently enough, I know we do a Simpsons podcast now, but like when that happened, I literally thought of Homer walking out of Empire with the whole line of people waiting to go in, and he goes, "Wow, I can't believe Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's father." Like that scene was in my head after you said that. Like it was perfect.
But yeah, I think that I don't remember if that was the same night or not, but there was definitely one of those premieres that we did. I brought a hookah, and the squares around us like complained, and like the cops basically came over and they're like, "We're not going to make you put it away, but you should really put it away." And then like, of course I had weed on me, so I wasn't going to like push it.
I don't think it was the squares like beside it. I thought somebody was like doing it with us. It was somebody like a few spots down where they thought the smell was I think they thought it was weed.
They thought it was weed. And like, again, to be fair, I did have weed on me. So like, it wasn't like they were wrong. It was just that they were wrong about like the method in which I was like ingesting it. I was going to my car and like, being discreet, because this was years ago and it wasn't as accepted as it was, or as it is today.
All right. Well, let's to get a little bit off that topic, but to stick with our friendship. Yeah, we started, I think, after we lived together, and we had a couple of like non-movie theater experiences. Like we've said it before on our show numerous times. We used to watch things like the original Karate Kid, more so the Karate Kid 2. Accepted, and Basketball. We used to watch those on repeat all the time.
Remember when we lived with Mike? Neither of us were on the lease at this time, and the only movie that we had that would actually play was Soul Plane. And it was because somebody put his PS2 and like put a parental lock on it. And for whatever reason, because Soul Plane was unrated, it would like bypass the like R rating filter. So there was a good period of time where the only movie that we could actually play on our like TV was Soul Plane.
I still feel like I've never seen that movie all the way through, though, to be fair. So I don't remember what happened
love that movie.
at the end of the movie, but I remember everything before the end.
We fly, we party, we land.
Since we're on the topic of like, we're supposed to be talking about good movie theater experiences, the first one I wanted to bring up is one that's I know it's cliche, but I don't care. Fuck off. It's near and dear to my heart. Is when we used to do riff tracks with my dad.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love the riff tracks experience. Like it's, if you don't know what riff tracks is, it's the guys that do Mystery Science Theater 3000, who they play a really old movie like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which is fantastic without being riffed, and they just make fun of it the whole time through in front of like they stream it in front of a live studio audience, but it's broadcast all over the country. And we had a lot of fun experiences like that, like Fun with Cylinders. Really old
Cylinders is probably the best thing that ever came out of that. And that was like a stupid little short film that they played before. I want to say it was like Plans from Deep Space, Outer Space 9. I can't remember what it was called.
From Outer Space, which is probably the worst movie of all time.
I think my favorite one that we saw though is Manos Hands of Fate. Like I think that was the best.
Might also be the worst movie of all time.
Yeah. Honestly, the movie that I was most excited about that I was just really disappointed in was when we saw Starship Troopers. And it's because I love that movie and was excited to hear it made fun of. But the audio sync on that one was just really, really bad to the point that like you could barely hear the actual movie. And it just, yeah.
I think also just their commentary on that one wasn't as good as it was with the other ones. And there's something where like, it's something that we remember fondly, like you said. So if you're making fun of something from the 70s or 80s, it's a little bit easier to laugh at it. But when it's something that like you took seriously when you saw it in theaters, I mean, that movie was a fun movie theater experience in itself, but just not.
I remember being blown away by that movie when that was a movie that like I used to go to a lot of movies just by myself, and that was one of the movies that I saw by myself. People always thought that was weird, but that was like one of my favorite things to do, and kind of still is. Like, there's like I love going to movies with you, of course, but there is something borderline like therapeutic about going to a movie theater by yourself.
Oh yeah, I've only done like 4 movies, maybe max, in my lifetime by myself. Well,
I've done
no,
tons.
I'm sorry. After my dad passed, it's been a lot more, just because I kind of wanted to keep the theme of us going to the movies together alive. But Matthew's bringing up a lot of good movies he saw in the 90s.
I saw he did mostly my favorite movies. The one that I think like is like a hidden gem in there is Blank Check, dude. That was my fantasy when I was a kid. Get a super hot girlfriend who's in her 20s while you're 12. Yeah, that was literally the dream.
I completely forgot about that part. I was just talking about the Blank Check part. But he also brought up Goofy movie, which funnily enough, I was actually talking about just the other day with my girlfriend. We were talking about letting her kids watch that movie because I saw that movie in theaters with my father as well. And I remember that his son's name's Max.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a crush on a girl, and I remember that was like when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, and it was like one of the first crushes I had. So it like struck a chord.
No, it's Max and what was her name? Rhonda?
Roxanne.
That's
maybe,
it.
I don't know.
I think it is Roxanne. My favorite was Pauly Shore, The Leaning Tower of Cheese.
Yeah.
And then, of course, is it Power Train?
I think that's right. Yeah. That was
the whole end sequence of that movie is absolutely stellar. Yeah, Chandra, it is Roxanne. Dope. Yep. And then, a big one that Matthew mentioned is, of course, The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down, which I actually just rewatched after we did this Best on Everything about Die Hard. It didn't put me in the mood to watch Die Hard. It ironically, I guess, or whatever, it put me in the mood to watch Speed. So I did. And that movie holds up, dude.
It really does.
That movie is so good.
It absolutely, that movie's fun all the time. Maybe not so much the second one. Another one that I don't think I've seen all the way through ever.
Yeah, that movie's trash, honestly. But, Heavyweights is a classic because I grew up fat and I never stopped thinking about how much fun The Blob would have been. And then, dude, Good Burger is absolutely one of my favorite movies. The I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude because we're all dudes. Yeah, is still not only one of my favorite like songs, but one of my favorite sayings. And I literally just got a T-shirt that says that on it. Like it has the I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude because we're all dudes. Yeah,
But
Blu-ray release on February 16th. Good to know.
for which one?
Good Burger. Good Burger.
Die Hard 2, 3.
Yeah.
I can't read that far, Matthew. Come on. Die Hard 3. All right.
It's here to lead, not to read.
Exactly. But was Good Burger one of your favorite movie-going experiences, though? Or was it just one of your favorite movies?
It's one of my favorite movies. I did see it in theaters, and I will say that it was one of the movies that I was super hyped about seeing in theaters because I was such a Nickelodeon kid, and since that was a Nick original movie, they played the hell out of teasers and behind the scenes, and basically like before DVD features were a thing, they were playing DVD extra features on Nickelodeon about Good Burger. So I think
that was the second Nickelodeon movie after like
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy, yeah. I think Good Burger was their second release in theaters, if I remember. I don't know why I remember that.
That sounds right. Yeah,
that's very much right. See it.
I had the soundtrack when I was a kid of Good Burger, and again, I just basically melted the track "I'm a Dude." But
well, let's get back on topic here, sir. We're going to the movies. I know what both of our number one movie going experiences are going to be. I think so. I'm going to save that for later. But I want to think of like some similar ones or ones that fall just short of that, just because that one I know again was just such a fun epic thing that happened that we'll save that for the end. But like,
let me derail you before we get into like great experience and ask you first, what's the first movie you remember us seeing together?
Maybe like We Are Marshall. I know we saw some before that.
That's a good one.
I think literally we're both like in the theaters being like, yeah, that was a pretty good movie.
You have allergies? I gotta go to Walmart and get some whatever Sudafed. I think I have you beat. I'm not positive, but we could look up when these movies came out. But
Casino Royale.
No, I think I have it before that too. Actually, the first movie I remember us seeing together, it was a white cherry slushy and rum. I think it was the first time we ever did it, and it was for King Kong, but not like the good one, like the Jack Black version.
It was when it was like $4 Thursdays or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
It was $3.50 actually. Used to be at the Rave, which is no longer there, but it used to be every Thursday night. This is when we really, I think, that's probably what really got us into this movie thing was the $3.50 Thursdays. So we would go pretty much every Thursday night, and like every movie that was out, even new releases, which I guess technically would have been out for like 6 days at that point. That they were $3.50 for a primetime ticket, basically.
Which conveniently enough, or weirdly enough, right before we started this show, I watched the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong.
I saw that drop today. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Honestly, I'm not really. I should be excited for it, but it doesn't interest me at all.
Only if Bryan Cranston's in it for like 12 minutes. Then I'm totally in.
And their big gimmick they're putting on the promos is that one of them will fall. But I'm like, falling doesn't mean that you die.
Yeah, they're literally going to see him trip. It's going to like Godzilla's going to like tie a rope between two skyscrapers and King Kong's going to like fall flat. Or he'll like slip on a banana peel. That'll be even better.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So you mentioned We Are Marshall. You mentioned, what was the other one you mentioned?
Casino Royale.
Casino Royale is good. Casino Royale was really, that was one of those like that
sudden
really...
death. Oh man, Matthew put sudden death on there. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes, absolutely.
Is that where the bomb is in the hockey puck?
Yeah, Die Hard in an ice rink where he like fights the penguin. Like, oh my gosh, I rewatched that with my dad a few years back, and like it did not hold up at all. Like my memory as a child watching it was way better than it was a terrible movie, but it's a good corny fun.
Yeah,
it's as cool as ice.
That's Batman and Robin levels of icy pun. It's a good night to freeze.
Just stop it. Let's just move on.
Actually, I saw that movie in theaters too. But you know what? I'll admit this. Like that movie gets a lot of crap, and I can obviously watch it now and see like, oh, this is corny. But I think that just at the age I was when that movie came out, and also as into the soundtrack of that movie, and also I had a huge crush on Alicia Silverstone. I enjoyed Batman and Robin in theaters. I thought it was very, very watchable.
I never realized that certain Batmen have nipples on their costume, and that's what everyone was focusing on because I was a child at the time. So
I was so into
even
Batman. Batman Forever was my favorite when I was a kid. Like now it's Batman
Me
Returns.
too, because I had it on VHS.
Yeah, same. I
I watched
remember
it all
getting
the
it
time.
at Sears.
And I knew who Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones were, so it made it better. Even though you hear the stories nowadays, we're like
They hated each other.
yeah.
It's like what people don't know about this show, and we're off the air. That reminds me. Go ahead.
I was like, no. I was going to say, now can we get into why we're here?
Yeah, exactly. It's the contract we signed. Damn it. Yeah, I think we did stumble upon it though. Is the Thursday 350 movie nights that really, really hooked us in, because even years after we no longer went to UNT, we just kept our student IDs and kept getting that price. That's the gimmick.
Yep. And then eventually I think we moved over to the other theater that we started going to, Tinseltown.
Yeah, and Grapevine. That's true.
Yeah. Yep.
They were one of the last ones to like do the Cinemark upgrades though, because I have to admit, I haven't actually been to a movie theater since before COVID. The last movie I saw in theater was Sonic the Hedgehog. So that was February 2020.
Which, if you read the memes, was the greatest superhero movie of the year.
That's fair. 100% fair. You know what I really honestly miss a lot, dude, is hosting movie parties for Studio Movie Grill. Like, I had gotten a gig for I started in December of 2019. My first movie party I hosted was for Elf. So I wore like an elf costume. It was just like super cheerful and shit. And basically hosting movie parties for them was great because I more or less had to like improv, like just I had to like talk about the movie and I had to talk about some various things, but ultimately I could just like kind of goof off and be silly. And I always dressed in character. So I did Elf. I did the dude from The Big Lebowski. I did Dusty from the tornado movie, the one where all the tornadoes attack. Twister. Yeah.
Wait, Dusty like Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yeah. I dressed up like him. It was actually a pretty good little costume I came up with. I used my old dirty UNT hat and a bandana coming out the back, and it worked out pretty well.
He basically dressed like he does every day outside.
Yeah, no, actually, that was the dude. I just wore my bathrobe and got real high. It was literally the same as my normal day-to-day routine. I told it tonight on stage. I still to this day tell a joke that was almost entirely made up, but I wrote it while I was hosting the movie party for The Big Lebowski. I basically wrote a joke about how it was a really cool gig, but I got in trouble for being high on the job, and just how that doesn't make any sense. But those were super fun because like we'd play games, and like the dude was obvious. We did a bowling game. Twister, I had people actually playing Twister again. Like this was in February, so thinking about that now, it's just like, oh my god, I was a super spreader event. But like we didn't know that at the time. But the best one by far, dude, during Elf, we had this competition. It was a race where I had two people, and they had to eat a plate of spaghetti that was covered in M&Ms and maple syrup. And then after they finished that, they had to chug a Sprite. And it was just the most horrific game. And like, I eventually just had to like be like, okay, the next person who could get a full drink down wins. It was a nightmare, but it was also like so much fun. And I wasn't responsible for cleanup. I just had to make sure people had a good time.
It sounds like a diabetic disaster. Just throwing that out there. But again, I'm going to be the one to rein us in. Movie going experiences. That's why we're here. We don't care about Miles' stand-up career. If you want to follow that, Mr. Most Days Off on all social media platforms.
Don't waste time.
Movie theater experiences. We're talking about our favorite ones, and we've been, I brought some up earlier with my dad. There's another one I have with my dad that I think deserves mentioning, and then I probably won't bring him up again. But again, fuck you if you don't care. South Park. South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. My dad and I had watched the show together on his recommendation when we went to my grandma's once. But a few years later, when the movie came out, he actually went to see it by himself. And I didn't know that because he wanted to make sure that it didn't go too far before he took me to see it.
And,
I was in, like,
not only that, but he saw it, decided Uncle Fucker was just fine for his 13-year-old.
I think I was in 7th or 8th grade at the time. But
Yeah,
after
same.
he watched it, he was like, okay, it does have a lot of stuff in there, but let's go see it. And we went and saw it, and I have never seen him laugh that hard in my entire life. And I realized at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. My dad's laughing. This is hilarious. And it was fantastically funny the first time he saw it. But then I realized towards the end of the movie, I was like, but this is his second time seeing it, and he's still like crying from laughing so hard. And that was just like I think we saw it a second time together, or if not, then my mom came with us the first time. And they were divorced at the time, so it was this. And I remember her laughing.
She's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
But it was just like that always stood out in my mind because it was just seeing my dad crack up hysterically for like an hour and a half was just like a really, really fun time.
That is cool, dude. It's funny. I have like the exact opposite experience with that movie because I actually, back to Matthew's comment earlier, I saw that at the Dollar Theater with my dad. Because like that was one of those movies along with Jackass. They did like extreme security measures. Like they had a cop at the door checking IDs to make sure that you're old enough or with a parent to see that. But like I'm pretty sure I remember the moment my dad stopped loving me during that movie because he's just, like I'm sitting there laughing and he's just looking at me, judging me like I raised a sociopath.
I remember when the South Park movie came out that like parents were calling the theaters pissed off because they didn't do research on the movie before they took their kids to see a cartoon movie, and they were pissed off because the F-bomb's being used in it.
To be fair, that's like the same panic that happened for The Simpsons, but like it actually was warranted with South Park.
Yeah.
I saw Matthew just said Jackass 4 is coming out, which excites me. And like also it both reminds me, I'll tell you about the time I went to see Jackass in theaters, but we actually have, I think, a funny story from first of all, we saw Action Point, which was with like the cast of Jackass, and they like did their own stunts, but it was actually a scripted movie. That was still good though. But I remember when we saw Jackass 3 in theaters, and we always used to sneak liquor in, as we talked about, but like we try to like do like mini bottles or like pour like vodka into a water bottle or, you know, something of that nature. But like as soon as the movie started in Jackass 3, it was very much like The Office where Michael Scott drops that bottle of wine, but somebody very clearly like popped a beer and then dropped it. And then you just heard this like huge rattle and then like clink, 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 clink.
I completely forgot about this.
The whole theater. I mean, like, fuck the movie at this point. This is the funniest thing that could have possibly happened. And we're both just like, God damn, I'm glad that wasn't us.
Yeah, exactly. We got to clarify. That was not us. That was somebody else. We were fine.
We were classy. We dropped our vodka bottles and it would just bounce
back up into our hands. I actually had a really cool movie experience here recently. Okay. And I want to brag a little bit on myself, and I don't do that very often, but my first date with my current girlfriend.
Which one?
I was taking her to see The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was a few days before Halloween. And, you know, we'd had dinner before, we were having fun, and we got to the movie, and it was like 10 minutes after the movie had started. And we get in the theater, and it's right at my favorite song where What's This? So maybe 15 minutes in.
This is Halloween.
Her favorite song is This Is Halloween, which is the first song of the movie. And she felt defeated because like she missed her song and everything. And she was like, well, maybe they'll restart the movie. And it's just like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, you know what? No, I'll be right back, which is something I never do. So I must really, really like this.
He always comes back after a while, but it's never right back.
I'm always so anxious and don't want to bother people that I'm like, no, even though I pay full price for this movie, let me take 90 to 85% of the movie for the full price. But no, I went down and talked. We were at the time the only two people in the theater. So I went back down and found like 3 people that worked there. And the first 2 people I talked to were like, But the third person, the young girl I talked to, I was like, I'm trying to impress this girl. This is our first date. I'm sorry we missed the movie, but like there's nobody else here. Is it a big deal if we restart the movie? And she was like, I just have to check and see what happens at the end of the movie, like what's next. And it turned out that like the next movie had like a huge gap in between there. So she's like, oh yeah, we're just going to restart the movie for you. I hope you enjoy it. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I got,
oh ahead, no, sorry. I mean, I remember you telling me that like the day after it happened, at some point you told me that. And I was like jaw dropped in. I just like, I still can't believe I do believe you, but like, it's just like mind melting to me. They're like, yeah, no problem. Whatever. You're the only ones here. Enjoy the movie.
I made it a big deal that I was doing it for love. So like that I think that sold that woman.
In the name of love. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so, you talk to the romantic employee.
You just have to know how to word things to people, which a lot of people don't know how to do. But they restarted the movie. And I was the hero. And most importantly, my girlfriend got to hear her favorite song in the movie.
Good save.
Yeah, good save. She's definitely not in the room listening.
That is really cool, though. Honestly, like,
it was a great experience.
Not only that, like, props to you for doing it. Like, obviously, you deserve all the props in the world for that. But like, props to the theater, dude, because like they could have easily just been like, "No, sorry, deal with it." But they actually took the time to check, and we're like, "Yeah, whatever. It doesn't really bother us either way. Don't make a mess."
Oh, we saw her on the way out, and I made sure I went up and thanked her again for it too. So
awesome.
Whoever that employee was, if you're listening right now, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's dope. That's really dope. All right, so I think you do know what my favorite movie theater experience is, and I think we both agree that it's
Evil Bong 2.
I love Evil Bong, man. I don't love Evil Bong 2. That movie's not as good, but the first Evil Bong, it might be because I saw it on shrooms the first time I ever watched it, but that movie still has such. Your girlfriend loves Evil Bong, dude. Holy
what?
Shit! Yes, it's
no.
The best. It is the best. It's got way too many sequels. It's got way too many sequels, but the first one is so fucking great. Thank you so much, Chandra. That is amazing. We just bonded. I'm only like 80% as mad as I was about you spoiling the last run for Richie. But you know, progress. That's super dope. No,
you just made me lose my girlfriend because of what you just said. I want you to know that.
That's fine. This is like some sweet, like I don't think it's irony. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it tastes amazing. Because you've given me so much shit for that movie for so long.
You guys would get along great on movie taste because she has a Shudder account. So
I love Shudder. It's like one of my favorite streaming services. But yeah, Evil Bong, I would say it was just a really great experience for me as a viewer because of the drugs that were involved. Again, I was tripping hard on that movie, but I still love it. The sequels, I've tried to watch some.
That's the one with the shark bra.
That is the one with the shark bra. Yeah, shark.
That's the only part I remember.
And then the lips. Remember we used to watch. You used to watch a ton of reality TV. What's the one with Bret Michaels that like the guy I talked about?
Rock of Love.
Yeah, there was one of the girls on Rock of Love that like she talked about how she was an actress on that show, and her only IMDb credit is in Evil Bong. And I remember watching that movie and just being like, "Oh, that makes so much sense."
Hey, those were the heydays of reality TV. That's when Road Rules, then the Challenge or whatever was actually good. I haven't watched it since then.
I think I've been binge watching Survivor, and it gives me like the same type of vibes for what it's worth. Saw both of those movies in theaters, Matthew, Richie Rich, and Getting Even with Dad. Getting Even with Dad was Jonathan Taylor Thomas, if I remember right. Is that right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Those were good movies. Yeah, Richie Rich. I'm a huge roller coaster nerd too, and I just watched a thing where they were showing like the actual roller coaster that was used in that movie is like the one that was in his yard or whatever. Anyway, Evil Bong got me to thinking though. We used to watch. We used to like home movie setup. I know. We always do this, right? Distract from like what we're getting to or whatever. But fuck it, it's our dynamic. We used to do some really cool stuff when we would watch movies at our apartment. And one of the ones I remember most, we did it with a lot of different horror movies, but the one that it fit the absolute best for was I had a fog machine in college because I love Halloween. And so when we watched Silent Hill, we like fogged up our apartment to the point where you basically couldn't see. Like it was hard to actually see the movie because of how much fog was in the room. And then we had a hookah on top of that. So like who knows like the oxygen percentage we were actually getting that night. But like that was a really cool thing we did because like that fog like gave the horror movie like a really fun vibe to it.
Well, especially because like the whole thing getting into Silent Hill, like it's especially the last few days in this area where it's been so foggy outside.
Sandra just said that she recommended you should watch Silent Hill because of the fog this weekend.
Even when I was at work and I work at an airport, you couldn't even see like the planes two gates over from where you were at because it was so foggy. But like that Silent Hill being fogged up was like a great watching experience. That was fantastic, and that was a lot of fun. And I think that might have been the first time I actually watched Silent Hill as well, which
it was for me as well. Which I played the game previously, but never watched it.
But I thought that movie was a lot of fun, and I think a lot of that had to do with the experience in which we watched it. And
I would agree with that. I think that definitely helped the dynamic for sure. And that does pretty much lead us right to our favorite movie experience of all time. I think some people like, I feel like when we tell people what this is going to be, there's going to be like some people that immediately think like, really? But
yep.
I think it was the magic of seeing it in the theater with a full crowd and it being so unique at the time. I still enjoy watching this movie like at home.
I gotta clarify before you mention the movie. I've had this talk with numerous people, and all the people that disagreed with me said they watched the movie for the first time at home, which I think is the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue with why they don't agree with me. But sorry.
That makes so much sense. I agree because this movie was designed to be in theaters. And it was designed to watch with a full crowd of active listeners. We're talking about the movie Paranormal Activity. And this movie, first of all, like its marketing campaign when it first came out was relatively unique, really, really common by today's standards, but at the time, really, really unique. They basically, instead of showing like previews for the movie, they showed footage of audience reactions from test screenings. And when we actually saw it for the first time, you were seeing it for your second time. I was seeing it for my first time. We were seeing it with another friend of ours named AJ, who's like this big, giant, muscular dude, which makes it funny later. But we were actually like, we had signed up to see like early screenings because like this movie didn't have like a traditional theatrical release.
It was slowly rolled out. And my dad and I read about the movie in Entertainment Weekly. And we knew about it like a month before it came out. And when it came out at Fossil Creek near us, we went and saw it. And we were like the only two people in the audience. And we both enjoyed it. It was a very fun movie theater experience. And literally the next week, you hit me up because you're like, there's this movie Paranormal Activity coming out at the Rave.
The movie we talked about earlier, or the theater we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So it was actually the first time it was going to be at the Rave was that night. So like it had a very slow rollout. Because financially for a movie, it was a very low budget movie. So like, I was expecting the theater to be like, maybe a third to halfway full max.
But no, it was completely full. We sat on the very, very back row. You, me, and our giant muscular friend AJ. The entire theater is full, and like at the time, again, now these movies are like they've been parodied. They've been sequeled to death, but at the time, this was a relatively unique thing. This found footage concept was definitely not as abundant as it currently is. It wasn't unheard of by any means, but it just wasn't.
Blair Witch was 10 to 15 years earlier than that.
Yeah, at least. I saw Blair Witch in theaters too, actually. And I remember the viral marketing on that one was fantastic, where they tried to make it so real. But what was so great about Paranormal Activity as a theater, as a group, as this collective of strangers, as that movie progressed, it would do the thing where it'd be like, night 2, night 7, night 13, whatever it was. Early on in the film, you're just laughing, having a good time. But as that movie went along, you would literally see collectively the entire theater on the like night screen, like the when it would say what night it was, and there would be this like it was fascinating, and we immediately talked about it on the drive home, but like this like collective breath hold. And it was just really, really cool to experience that movie as part of this giant group. I still, I mean, I remember laughing at AJ because of like how like he was like clutching
He
the
was
arm.
terrified.
He was terrified. I mean, absolutely terrified, which is silly. But again, Paranormal Activity now it's like it's basically a punchline. But at the time, it was a completely different experience.
Well, and I had a great perspective because I'd seen the movie already. And like I typically with movies and stuff and TV shows like that, I have a really good memory. So like when it would say like night, I knew what was going to happen that night. So I got to like sit back and observe the audience a lot more the second go around. And I was looking at you too because I knew you hadn't seen it, but I knew how much of a horror fan you were. So I knew you were going to have fun regardless. But yeah, AJ, I think there was one part where he literally screamed and like I heard this very like high-pitched scream at one point, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, and it wasn't like he was just like doing it just to be funny, like it got to him.
He was legit. It was funny as hell.
That was by far the most fun movie-going experience I think I've ever had.
Unfortunately, and I'm struggling to remember if we saw this one together. I had almost the exact opposite experience when it came to Paranormal Activity 2. Part of the reason I think was just because my expectations were set so high from the previous one. But in Paranormal Activity 2, I basically had people that literally just talk during all of the setup. So, like, I understand, like, if you've seen the movie, that can be a little bit boring, but like the psychology of that film is to like have the small chatter make you comfortable. So when shit gets like crazy later, you're uncomfortable, and them talking through it just really ruined the experience.
I thought we saw like all of them together, but maybe we did not see the second one.
It's possible that I saw the second one twice, like once with and once without you.
The third one was when they go like back in time, right?
Third one is when they go back in time. It's the girls. And that was a really cool experience just because people actually sued the studio over this, which I think is fucking stupid. But this was the first time that the Paranormal franchise actually shot additional footage that was specifically used in the trailers so that when you went and saw the movie, you didn't know what was going to happen. So, but like they actually got sued, I remember, because they claimed it was false advertising because like the footage that was used in the trailers wasn't in the film, which is just so, again, just so dumb.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about Avengers Endgame when you saw it was the one before Endgame. Crap. What was the first part of the last movie of Avengers? Infinity War. When they had Hulk running in the fight in Wakanda, and then he actually wasn't because Hulk was gone at that point, which the second one, Endgame, was another one of my favorite ones, which we saw together. Just like there's lots of stories about it, but when Chris Evans picked up Thor's hammer and the collective audience just like cheered, that was like Paranormal Activity condensed into like
a moment,
a 10-second clip, basically.
Yeah. We saw a lot of the Marvel movies together.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst experiences I ever had going to the movies, I never actually got to the movies, but I was supposed to come meet you. I want to say it was for the first Captain America film, maybe the second. I want to say it was the first one, but they literally shut the highway down while I was on it, like trying to come see you. And I was right by the airport. So I had these, like, maniacs behind me, like honking and screaming, like, get the fuck out of the way, asshole. We're trying to go to the airport. And it's just like, what the fuck do you want me to do, dude? Do you not see all the flashing lights in front of me? But like, they just like shut the highway down right in front of me. And there's really almost nothing I could do. Finally, eventually enough cars actually like drove through the grass into like the, like they basically illegally exited onto like the side road, and eventually it opened up enough room where I could do the same thing. But that I was stuck on the fucking highway for hours, and I was just so bummed out because it was like I was really excited to see the movie.
I'm okay with that. I think the first Captain America is one of the worst Marvel movies, and I don't know
if I agree now, but going into it, we didn't think so.
Yeah, we didn't know going into it. But
that reminds me too. Other way, Thor was another one. The first Thor, we were like, I think we both just had really low expectations for it, so it really blew us away.
The first Iron Man, man, like the one that started it
Yeah,
all.
we saw that one at Movie Tavern in Denton. And we got, that's when we used to, back in the day, we had the giant mugs from Movie Tavern. They were like 3.5 beers, and we'd always get those filled whenever we go to the movies. That was really good times.
That was just an entertaining movie with entertaining people, so we had a good time. But let's bring it all back around to the beginning. I'm sure we're running low on time. I'm just guesstimating because I have a good sense of time. Miles, you have the timer. Am I correct?
It says at the top of your screen how long we've been running, but it is what it is.
I can't read that far away. But
Mighty Ducks 2. Sorry, Matthew, you gotta hang out with us more often, dude. Mighty Ducks 2 is another. I went home that night. I was way into street hockey, and my friends went home after Mighty Ducks 2, and we stayed up all night trying to do the knuckle puck.
Oh, every kid in the 90s did the knuckle puck. I mean, street hockey and knuckle pucking was what you did. And that sounds like a dirty...
I might go watch Mighty Ducks 2 when I get done here.
My babysitter at the time, who had a few kids, took all of us to go see that in theaters, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was way better than the first one.
Another really great soundtrack, too. Sorry, but anyway, bringing this all back around.
I wanted to bring it back around. I said I wouldn't bring up my dad again, but it's going to happen one more time. One of the more like charming movie theater experiences I had was I remember when I was a kid, like Miles, a huge Turtles fan, and I don't care what anybody says about the third Ninja Turtles movie. I always enjoyed it, but I remember my dad took me out of school that day. I wasn't going to get babysat, nothing. He took off work so that he could take me to see Ninja Turtles 3 like at noon.
Nice.
And I was just like so happy to be there with my dad watching a franchise that I loved about characters that I loved. And it was just a fun moment. And I remember when Sam Rockwell a few years ago won the Oscar, he talked about like his love of movies and how his dad did something similar to him, where he would skip school and take him to see the movies and make this big deal about it. And then that love of movies is what, made him want to be an actor and do all this other stuff. And I just think that's like, a lot of people think movies are stupid, and a lot of people think, it's not real, so why are you doing this? Or it's entertainment and it's bull crap. But like,
literally everybody has a Netflix account, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Movies can be this fun thing you do with your family, and like you can create memories, and like even though you're not doing something, it's something that can have an impact on people, and
it's a shared experience.
Exactly, it's a shared experience. And I just I remember a lot of times watching stuff with my dad. I talked with this about Chandra recently, where like one year around Christmas we would always see two movies, and in one year we saw Wreck-It Ralph, and I think we saw Frozen or something. We saw two cartoon movies one day.
I still haven't seen Frozen for what it's worth, but we saw Wreck-It Ralph together.
I'm like one of the only people. I thought we saw the second one together, but I honestly do not remember about the first one or not. But if we did, I'm going to trust your judgment. I'm one of the few people on earth that did not like the first Frozen movie. The second one's okay, but the first one I feel like is just...
It doesn't look that good from the outside looking in.
There's a lot of useless characters in it, I feel like. But that's going to blow up the internet one day if anyone ever watches the show. However, I just love all those shared experiences I had with my father, because that was our thing. We went to the movies every weekend to go see a movie, and I would not trade that for any other memory I have or anything in the world, honestly. So that's what it's about, right? And I have a lot of those shared memories with you as well, which is what you said, a lot of our friendship. So I mean, again, we are Marshall.
Our friendship, but it's a pillar of our friendship. It's something that we will always have those shared experiences, and I imagine we'll continue to do so. And we have proof because of our cringe-worthy reviews of movies that are available, movies on the half shell on my YouTube channel at Mr. Most Days Off.
Well, we talked about it earlier, dude. Like I mentioned it at least. Casino Royale was a really fun movie that like both of us were not expecting to like as much as we did. But I remember that shared experience with you, where like the parkour scene at the beginning of the movie.
The beginning of that movie made the movie.
Yeah,
that was so good. I think that we honestly probably even have more memories of this that we could probably dig up. Matthew, you've been mentioning so many. Small Soldiers I saw in theaters. Huge crush on Kirsten Dunst. I remember Beethoven, both 1 and 2. I'm almost as big of a Back to the Future fan as I am a Ninja Turtles and Simpsons fan. I never actually saw those, and I've seen them in theaters on as an adult, but those movies I actually only saw on VHS as a kid. Home Alone, loved them all. But yeah, you definitely, I hope you come back and hang out with us. Like you might enjoy our cringeworthy movie reviews, what we did years ago. But we don't always talk about movies. We usually talk about The Simpsons and other shit. But hope you come back. And Chandra, we have to get together and like, what's that Clockwork Orange scene? We need to do that to Richie for Evil Bong.
No.
Just open. What is it? They like, just have your eyes pinned open.
You have your eyes open and they drop the drops in your eyes so they don't get dried out.
Yeah, we'll just do that to you and watch the whole series.
Mm.
I'm a doobie. I'm a doobie.
I've seen the first one. I feel like I've seen the second one.
It's up to him. I mean, I've gotten him high a few times.
Doesn't do a whole lot for me, but we'll talk about that in the future.
He doesn't want to be incriminated or whatever. He pleads the fifth.
Incriminated is better than inseminated, so we'll go with that.
All right, go out and incite an erection already.
You see an erection? Oh wow!
Did you not see Chuck Schumer? We don't want to get political, but yeah, Chuck Schumer actually said that. He said that like they were gonna talk about him inciting an erection instead of an insurrection.
Oh
but, yeah, it's not that serious. But anyway, Matthew, thank you for hanging out. Chandra, thank you for hanging out. You're obligated to do so. We usually talk about The Simpsons every other week, and then we pick a random topic and do this on the off weeks. We appreciate you tuning in and checking us out and joining us. If you want to see more on The Simpsons, it's at Best Darn Diddly. You can follow me at Mr. Most Days Off, and Richie is at the Wiz_Kid23.
Oh, I guess I should have done a 23. Oh, it's backwards. Oh no! How do I do this on reverse camera? There we go, 23. Get your numbers straight, yo.
Perfect. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And, Richie, you probably have something clever to say. But first, I will tell you that we plan to be back again next week. And we should have a special guest. You know what? As I say that, we're going to announce it, but I'm probably going to have to change it. We're probably going to have to do another Best Darn Everything. But the next episode of The Simpsons we're going to be covering is the Tobacco episode, which is E-I-E-I-DO.
And no, nothing clever. I was just in the moment. So fuck you, Miles.
Perfect. So check us out. Come join us again. Thank you again. And until next time, be cromulent to each other.